We know you have a lot of Sucky broadcasts to choose from, so thank you for listening to this Sucky broadcast. And now, here's Bradley Laborman.
What is up? Hi. Welcome to this Sucky broadcast. I'm your host, Bradley Laborman. And I hope everything's going well for you. It is the 21st of June. It is the longest day of the year. And my dog's in the other room. And if he barks, I rearranged stuff. I don't know if you noticed this, but I moved my computer area out of the living room. And I need to get this song out of here. That's what I need to do. But I moved out of the living room, and now here I am. I'm here. I'm live. I want to take a minute right now, though, and talk about. I have a new sponsor. I have a new sponsor to this Sucky broadcast. A new Sucky sponsor. Okay, McKinney Black Car. Ride in style with McKinney Black Car, a family-owned business based in McKinney, Frisco, and Arlington. That's where I'm at, in Arlington. Offering luxury transportation services for events, concerts, and airport trips in the DFW area. Options include black cars, party buses, stretch limousines, and much more. Reach out to Nathan, the owner, to book McKinney Black Car. His number is 469-469-5452. That number again, 469-469-5452. I think it's cool that he got that in there twice. I don't think that's right. That doesn't seem right. I don't know. That is right. That's very weird. That's a very interesting number. They also have 5-star Google ratings. And when customers reach out to reach out for a quote and they mention Sucky, you just have to say Sucky, you get $50 off of for their hourly booking. So there you go. That's how easy that was. That's our new sponsor. I think they're listening to me live. If something is weird or something is wrong with that number, I go off the reading that I have. I want to make sure, but follow them. There, you can go to the link on that suckybroadcast.com, thissuckybroadcast.com. You can go there. You can click on it. You can follow them. They're on social media. They're on Instagram. I just followed them on Instagram a while back. McKinney Black Car on Instagram. Check them out. That's who they are. They're a new sponsor. They're a new Sucky sponsor, and we love them, and we will take care of them for the weeks and months ahead that they are involved. My guest today is a talented actress and singer, and she's cute and just all around just a great person. I don't think I'm supposed to say cute. I don't think that's the word anymore. I don't know, but she doesn't get offended by that stuff, so that's good. So, anyways, and she's also in Bradman the movie, which should be coming out at the end of this month, beginning of next month. So that's great. That's a great thing that we have going on is Bradman the movie coming out. But please put your hands together for Angelica Triger. What's up?
Nothing much. It's so good to see you virtually again.
Hi. Yeah, I haven't seen you for a while because I met you when I lived in Chicago, and despite posting a lot on social media, people still don't seem to realize I don't live in Chicago anymore.
Nope.
Literally today, somebody said on Twitter, they're like, Bradman, when did you move out of Chicago? And I'm like, a while ago. Can't you tell by my happiness and my joy and my glow and all the other stuff? But which, by the way, you can't see if you're listening to this on a replay, but you can see if you come in and watch the live stream on Wednesday nights at 8:00, and you can go to thissuckybroadcast.com/live to see the show live. Hi.
Hello.
Well, and so we're going to start really easy. Why don't you tell everybody about you?
That's more of a difficult question, but I feel like I do a lot of things. I wear many hats. I feel like I love acting, singing. I actually started off as a singer as a child, and then eventually I started branching off into independent film probably about 8 years ago. yeah, started in theater as a kid. Yeah, now I'm just trying to find creative outlets wherever I can. I started up a YouTube channel in February called Acting Savvy, and I just try to do different advice videos and try to have people on there who are in the indie film industry. So I've just been trying to keep myself busy because I know there's a lot of weird things happening right now in the
Right.
film industry.
Yeah, there really is. Have you been? I mean, you're not in the Writers Guild, right?
No.
Yeah, yeah. But and you're still. Are you still doing stuff at all? Is stuff happening in Chicago at all, or is everybody being all like, nope, we're not doing anything?
There's a few different things like independent projects
Mm-hmm.
here and there, but it's a weird situation. It's almost like people don't want you to participate in independent film, even though it's like, okay, well, there's some writers who aren't really striking right now. They still want to be creative and still do different things. But then there's the other side where they're like, well, these are the reasons why everyone's striking and, standing in solidarity.
Right. Yeah. But also makes for a good Instagram picture. I don't know. I'm very cynical about the whole thing, about the whole everything. I mean, because hypothetically, AI could. I mean, I'm a writer. I don't need to be in a um I don't need to be in a guild to be a writer, and I enjoy writing, and I don't want to get you like blacklisted off of anything by you being on the show if I say this, but I'm like, yeah, I want to support the writers that are in the guild, but at the same time, there's a lot of comedians and stuff like that who went on to become talk show hosts who are like, we're not doing a show because of whatever, because all the writers on strike, and I'm like, you could still do a show. And they're like, we're standing in solidarity with the writers. But I'm like, I think it would do the writers more good if you went on and did your show without writers and everybody saw how lousy you were. And that would actually help the writers. If you wanted to like really help the writers in solidarity, Jimmy Kimmel, show everybody that you're not actually an original comedian and post it on, like, do a show without somebody else writing the jokes for you. Please do that, Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and everybody else and whatever his name is. I forget all the guys on these talk shows. I don't care. Anyways, so I'm glad that you're still getting some work, even though there's no even though the strikes are going on, but it doesn't seem to be affecting you too much. And how is the film scene in Chicago? Is it still thriving and booming and all that good stuff?
I don't know about thriving and booming. I feel like, I mean, there is always something going on. It's really strong for independent writers. That's what I love about Chicago.
Yep.
We have different outlets where we're able to have, film space and great groups of people to work with. But I feel like there's always something to improve on, especially in Chicago. I feel like, there's things like I feel like we could always try to work together more. Like,
I always find that interesting because when I first got to Chicago, I thought, oh, everybody really just wants to work together. And I really like this because in LA, everybody's like, in New York, it was like, hey, be in my project. And everybody would want to be in each other's projects. In LA, it'd be like, how much are you paying me to be in your project? And then when I get to Chicago, it was like a mix of both. But the nice thing about Chicago is like everybody wanted to be in stuff, but then you started to get little groups going. And so it became very incestual in a way because it would be like, oh, I'm doing this movie and the same people are in it. And that's fine if you're Adam Sandler or somebody like that. But even Adam Sandler will then turn around and put other people in the leads once in a while and move people around and have people play different characters. So I think it's important that that you look at that. Now here in Dallas, Fort Worth, actually, they're in the process of building a studio that will probably be 1,000 times better than Cinespace, and it's going to be awesome, and it's supposed to rival Georgia.
Oh wow! Because I heard Atlanta was booming for a while, and then
right. I think, yeah, people. It's funny because everybody was like, we're going to boycott Atlanta because of this political thing or that political thing. They didn't boycott it. It was still doing stuff. So you just don't hear about it as much. But you watch any movie and it's like made in Georgia at the end of it, and you're like,
oh yeah,
we
Tyler
got you.
Perry. But it's funny because Tyler Perry actually films out in Chicago sometimes.
Yeah. I just saw that Tyler Perry bought BET.
Oh wow, okay.
Or
So
BET Media Group, which I'm assuming means BET, like all the BET stations. He was acquiring them. That's what I read. I don't know if that's accurate or true or whatever, but that's what I read like last week. I think it popped through while I was doing my show last week. It came through as a message. But I personally, I'm not a big fan of Medea, but I do like several of the Tyler Perry shows that used to be on TBS all the time, like Meet the Browns or whatever it was. Those were good shows. Those are good shows. I like those. And but Tyler Perry movies are very formulaic. There's always like one person who's got a crack addiction, and then they have to overcome it, or they've got like they're a kleptomaniac, or they're stealing money for something, or something's going on, and then Medea has to come in and do whatever. And I don't know if he's still doing Medea or not, but I don't think he is. I think he stopped doing it because of
directing. I think he's directing more now.
Right. But I think he stopped doing Medea the same reason I was doing a character called Brenda, and I got kicked. I kind of got removed from social media or from Amazon because they said I was making fun of people. Which I wasn't. I was just doing a character, and I think that's the same as him. I was doing a character much like Medea's a character, much like Fatty Arbuckle used to do a character, much like Jonathan Winters used to do a character, Mrs. Doubtfire as a character, like all these different people used to do characters. That was it. That's all I was trying to do with that. So, anyways, so so you sing, and I'm not going to make you sing on the show. That would be cool though.
I
right?
just need to get on it more because I know I always, it's just getting the reels together. I know I have people on me to do voiceover, to do more like singing and get a reel together because I'm just like, okay, I could sing, just tell me to sing something live. But I mean, we're now in like such a digital age that you need to have reels, but it's
Why don't you do that? Why don't you just sing out randomly on TikTok? I do that all the time.
I should, yeah. I feel like more. It's like even with my YouTube channel, Acting Savvy, that I started in February, I still have this fear because in high school and middle school, I was bullied so much. And now it's just like promoting myself. I'm still a little afraid. I'm just like, well, I mean, there's always going to be people that don't like you for some odd reason, but I just got to get past that and start posting and promoting.
Yeah.
Because I know it's like a goal to try to get, verified on YouTube. But if I don't share, then it's not going to get out there.
You really just have to share it. It's really not that hard to get verified on YouTube. Except I did just get a notification that I'm having my verification removed because one of my sites hasn't been active for a very long time. And I was like, oh, let me get on that. Let me post something on there. Because it's like, you get 400 hours and you got to do whatever. And it's got to be in so much in a month. And I just let it slide. I've been working on other stuff. So. Yeah. But I mean, I think you should just sing some TikToks. Get on TikTok, sing. You should sing right now. You should sing right now.
What do you want to hear?
I don't know. Let me think because I'm going to clip this. I'm going to put it up on Instagram once we do it. So if it's good, if it's not good, I'm not going to clip. No,
I haven't warmed up in ages. I like people are just like trying to think. They're like sing again. But
do you have like a lot of neighbors right now? Like if you sing, are you going to be like? Oh, the neighbors are mad because that's even better. I can
control my volume as long as it's not like some super because with my higher register, like going up there, I get louder, but
I'm interested to see how I want people to know like she's on a weird microphone. It's like a Mac microphone. So if it doesn't sound the best, and I'm gonna not talk, so she will come through better. I'm gonna mute myself. And now here's Angelica Triger singing something random. Here we go.
Something that okay. Oh, say, can you see what's the dawn's burning light? I need to look up the rest of the words, but let's see what else can I see.
No, listen, that was great, and I am never going because I had to sing the national anthem once, and I blanked out on the words. That's the national. You can say what national anthem is the hardest words in the world. If you want to bring up the lyrics on the screen and do that again, that's great.
Yeah.
And then, or if you want to do any other song, but if you do that song, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's no copyright infringement if you do that song, so that's a nice way we can do it. So.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody owns a copyright on that. So
no,
it's very patriotic too. And then it'll be great because 4th of July is just around the corner. Ladies and gentlemen, did you find the words?
Or let's see. I haven't warmed up, so it's probably my middle. Let's see.
Oh, I don't know what she's doing. I can sing while she's waiting if you guys want me to know.
Let's see. What is that song? Let's see. It's drowning my pain. Let's see.
Oh, you mean Killing Me Softly? Yes.
Yeah. That's like my go-to karaoke.
Okay. But that's got copyright issues. That's what I'm saying. The other song didn't have copyright issues. You can do either one. I don't care. I will take the copyright strike either way. Go ahead. Do what you want.
See. I haven't even practiced this, so I don't even know. Let's see. I haven't even warmed up, so let's see.
I'm going to mute. Here we go.
Okay. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. It's like this is like my first time looking at it. I didn't even warm up today. I'm just like, whatever.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
I didn't even warm.
Putting that out on the patriotic web. That was great. Thank you.
I haven't even sang in ages that much or had motivation. I haven't even warmed up today.
You know what? I'm glad I'm here to motivate you. That was fantastic. That was wonderful. That's what this show's all about. It's all of that just random, sporadic, all that stuff. Because if you're going to do the other song, I was going to be like one time, two time.
And we would have had a copyright infringement.
Yeah, we would have had the Fugees would have came after us. And they would have been like, hey! And I've been like, come on, Fugees. Come on, you're killing me softly with your copyright notice. Killing me softly with your copyright notice. Killing me softly. Okay, here we go.
Okie dokie.
That was awesome. I'm gonna share that.
That was awesome. I don't know.
I know, right? See, there you go.
It's just like I haven't sang in ages.
Well, there you go.
I was at this, someone came in, my friend Ellie came in from out of London to visit for a little bit. And then they put me in to sing what was that song? Glitter and Be Gay. And I'm just like, I haven't sang in ages. Why are you guys doing this to me? Because I lost my voice teacher, Deborah, right before Christmas. So I haven't had the most motivation to sing. I've done it here and there for auditions, but not like I used to because I was super close to her. So now I'm just okay, trying to get back into it, but it's hard, Sometimes when you just lose people so suddenly, the motivation just goes.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And that is you have had loss, and that's something that I think it helps you grow as a person. Do you want to speak on that? You want to speak on loss? Because I feel like
at one point I was gonna start people are like, what happened to your grief podcast? But I I kind of shut that down for a little bit. Eventually maybe I'll speak about it more, but I know I had some people, I try not to advertise it a lot, but I lost my parents pretty young, but I kind of still move forward. I try not to make that the definition of who I am. My losses aren't really who I am. So yeah, I feel like at a certain point I really wanted to do a grief podcast, but it's hard because like I even studied like the processes of grief like right after my mom passed. Like 2 weeks later, I started Northeastern and I studied communication and I studied like the process of grief, even though I feel like that's very controversial because there's 7 stages, but I feel like there's no one way to really define grief because
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
it's like, certain people who are like certain figures in your life. Like I know it's something I did. I was like, I looked to certain people. It's like, oh, she's like a mom to me. And even like Deborah was like, oh, like she took over being my mom after. But it's like, when you miss, it's like, I don't know, sometimes when I miss Deborah, I miss my mom all over again. So it's like, ooh. So it's like it's not really
Yeah,
one
so is it healthy to like put these people in like parental type roles?
a
Because
little. I kind of like I try not to do it as much. It's something I'm still working on with
okay.
counseling. But it's like even with friends who have like certain things like my mom did. Like I have a friend, Maria, I love her to death. Or but she like each
Yeah,
and
you're
like
like don't say I love her to death. Why do you say it?
well, I mean I do, but
Yeah,
it's like
I
she
guess.
teaches like at the same school my mom did and like, doing the same things, like, teaching special ed. So I'm just like, I can't like she's a separate person from who my mother was. So it's like, we're all separate people to not really latch on to people like on certain
Yeah,
ways.
I got you.
But yeah, it's just
I
a
got you.
really weird process sometimes with certain things, but just getting through it, I feel like is just, or keeping yourself busy doing different projects really helped me a lot.
I think that if you wanted to do a small, like if you, here's my idea. Just hear me out on this. I don't think you need to do like a full podcast. I think you just have to do, you said the 7 stages. You should just do 7 episodes and then that would be it. And then they're out there on the web for people to use. And then you do an episode on each stage.
Yeah, because I had one for a little bit, but then I'm just like, "Ugh, do I really want people to know like that deep of things about me that could, be held against me later?" Like, ugh.
I mean, it depends on how open you are or whatever, but also you can like rework it so you could have other people come on to talk with you too, and they could be experts in those certain areas. So I think
Yeah.
there's always a way to. I mean, like there's podcasts about anything. I listen to this radio station in Dallas called 97.1 The Freak, and the midday show they were talking about this show called Tiptoes. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tiptoes. So Tiptoes is Kate Beckinsale and Matthew McConaughey, and they're a couple, and they're going to get married, and she announces that she's pregnant, and then he freaks out because what she doesn't know is everybody in his family are little people, and
Oh,
he's got like a twin brother who's a little person, and his parents are a little person, and for some reason he's a full grown man, and he's like sneaking away to go to these little people conventions and all this other stuff, and she thinks he's cheating on her and all this other stuff, but uh, she finds out because his brother shows up and crashes on the couch because he's going out with this girl. He goes to this girl's house, and the girl is whatever. Peter Dinklage is in it, but the thing about the movie is, oh my god, what's the guy's name? The guy that is like the method actor that's in like he was in Batman and does all these different movies, and for some reason I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
here.
But he's always playing a character. I'm gonna have to look it up because I'm just gonna have to look it up because I gotta remember what his name is. I don't know why I'm having a moment where I forgot his name completely. Gary Oldman. So Gary Oldman plays his twin brother, who is a little person, a dwarf. Where they say, because it's funny because at one point in the movie, she goes, when did you tell me your family was a bunch of midgets? He's like, they're not midgets, they're dwarfs. And that's like a takeaway from the movie. But anyways, it's a very bizarre movie. It's on Amazon. It's free. It's 90 minutes. It's weird. But then Peter Dinklage swears there's a 2-hour, 50-minute version of the movie that's the most beautiful movie ever made. But the director got mad at the producers for a bunch of different things. Like one of the things is like Kate Beckinsale, he got her for cheap because she wanted to wear a hat. Anyways, the point of this whole thing is there is literally a podcast that's like 6 episodes called Tiptoeing or something like that, and it's out there on Spotify or whatever, and it's specifically just about it's like six episodes doing a deep dive into this Tiptoe movie. So if they could do that, you could do 7 episodes on the Stages of Grief. That's my opinion on that. That's what I meant to say.
I don't know, because I could do like 7 episodes, but I don't know. It's like it's so controversial. Like even with the 7 stages, I feel like still people have so many different like stages. Like the 7 stages, it's like okay, it's textbook definition, but I feel like everyone's emotions are slightly different.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's because I just, have a master's in communication, media, and theater. So I don't know if it's like maybe if I have people who actually have like credentials in counseling, it might help a little bit. Just so they're like, oh, what's this communication major doing talking about psychology? But I did like dip into that a lot. But
yeah, you got your majors. I got to tell you a story about theater real quick. So I didn't get my major. I partied in college a lot because I knew I had a job outside of college. I knew that when I graduated, I had a job in theater outside of college because I was arrogant back then. And so my GPA was low when I graduated, but I was able to graduate. Fast forward to now, and I've got 25 years of like theater experience working with kids, directing, all this other stuff. And I reach out to the Teachers Guild of Texas. They're not the Teachers Guild, but like it's called Teachworthy. The other one was called Texas Teachers, and they were mean to me, so I don't like them. But Teachworthy also worked with me, and I reached out to them. I sent them my transcripts, and they're like, "No, this is too low. Texas Teachers is like, this is too low. You can't even be part of the program." And I'm like, "Oh, weird." So then Teachworthy messages me on a Saturday, by the way, which was awesome to begin with, and says, "Well, your GPA is low, but you have experience. But if you test, there's a program called the PACT test, which is PACT test, right? And they're like, you can do that, and it will offset your GPA if you pass that. But you can only do it in an area where we need teachers in Texas." And swear to God, I got onto the website, and what do you think one of the areas was they needed teachers?
Right by you.
No, like area of study.
Oh, theater.
Yes. Like theater teachers are needed in Texas. And I'm like, what? I'm probably because they focus on football and all this other stuff too much. So I am in the process. I'm studying because I took like a sample test, and it was asking me questions about, as a theater teacher, you have somebody else do the lights and so all this other stuff. But it was asking me like, what type of Fresnels do you use in this situation? I'm like, what? And I mean, I called them up and I said, how much do I need to pass this test? And they said, well, how high do I have to pass to offset the grade? She goes, you just have to pass. And I'm like, passing is 75%. She's like, yeah, 75%. There's 200 questions, which means I could miss 50 questions and still pass this thing. But I don't want to go in there and just be like, oh, I just got a passing grade. I'd rather go in there and be like, look at me. But also she said, you get 2 times.
Okay.
If you don't pass so but I'd rather do it the first time. Like when I went to get my real estate license, I'm not a realtor anymore, but I went to get my real estate license, and everybody kept saying, when you don't pass the first time, it'll be okay. I passed the first time. So I feel like I can do that. But also it was a lot of common sense. So we'll see. Yeah. Anyways, I just want to share that with you because you got your master's. So if you wanted to be a teacher, you could just be like, I want to be a teacher.
But the thing is, it's just your freedom. That's the only thing, because I'm just like, well, I could easily be a teacher, but it's just like the free spirit in me to make a schedule.
I'm old. Here's my logic. I'm old. Teachers have extremely awesome health insurance, and that's what I see. That's what I see. I've survived being a freelancer for a very long time. I could still be a freelancer because I believe that someplace like Texas, people aren't going to be like, oh, look what he says on his podcast and look who he is as a teacher. I don't think people are going to do that. I never had a problem with that. When I was in Iowa, I was doing I was running my children's theater in Iowa. I ran it for about 8 years. The only time I ever had an adult like try to cancel me back then was it was always a non-parent. The parents would come in, they'd be like, "Oh, I just saw that episode of that YouTube video you did. That was hilarious. I saw that parody you did. That was hilarious. You know, I saw your live stream. I saw your show. Everything was great. It was hilarious." But whenever somebody would try to cancel it, it'd be somebody who didn't have a kid.
Oh,
And
wow.
and that's how it is with anything. Like when I lived in Iowa City, these people would try to cancel stuff that was going on in Iowa City, but they didn't live in Iowa City. And they would just come from other cities to just do it. That's how everything works. That's the same like when in Chicago, I lived in Rogers Park and they had a homeless problem.
Oh.
And then they have a homeless problem in a lot of places. LA's getting really bad. But the situation was people would come from Evanston and they would come over and they would donate tents and they would bring all this stuff. And everybody said, "Oh, these people are so nice." And I'm like, they're not nice. They're coming from Evanston. They're bringing tents over here so that people will stay in Rogers Park and go here and set up their tents here and not go to Evanston. And
Or
therefore, yeah. So that's the deal. They're not being helpful. They're giving the facade they're being helpful, but in reality, they're just trying to keep people out of their neighborhood. They're a bunch of NIMBYs. That's a term I learned. NIMBYs are not in my backyard.
That's probably like a North Shore thing because I feel like they have their own little society, their own little.
I learned NIMBY because of something else, because of a thing about fake buildings, which I would love to go into, but I go into fake buildings all the time, and then I don't want to. It'll be quick. You know what? No, I don't want to do it because it's so much. Google it. Google fake.
Are you afraid of getting canceled?
But no. Fake buildings are amazing. Yeah, I can't get canceled for fake buildings. They're cool. They're just something cool. You should Google it sometime. Everybody Google fake buildings. I'm going to read a spot real quick, and then I'm going to go grab a book because there's something I want to talk to you about next. Something I feel like you're an expert on. But let me real quick go in and tell you about the Brass Tap. The Brass Tap offers over 150 craft beers from around the globe in an upscale neighborhood bar atmosphere. They carry almost every craft beer from almost all of the Texas breweries, from Rollertown Beer Works to Tubbs to Petticola's Brewing. You can always count on them to deliver the craft beers you're looking for. They also carry craft beers from other states and even craft beers brewed by monks from overseas. They offer weekly events with pint nights, music bingo every Wednesday at 7 p.m., Family Feud or themed trivia every Thursday at 7 p.m., and a new live local musical artist every Saturday night. They also have one of the longest running happy hours in all of DFW area with select $5 drafts, discounted shots, $6 wine, $7 drinks of the week, along with food specials under $10. You can also enjoy every major sports game on one of their many TVs and large screens, covered patios, which are dog friendly, and also special events, which are always listed on their Facebook page, such as car shows, bike nights, and events for benefit local charity groups. They have 3 locations in Allen, Prosper, and the brand new location in Frisco, which also features Old World Pizza made to order. You can only get that pizza at their Frisco location, and guests have been raving about it. Oh, and any guest who mentions this Sucky broadcast can choose one free appetizer of their choice. Just mention the podcast and pick up what you want, and it's on the house. And that's the Brass Tap in North DFW. I was going to grab my book, but I'm not going to grab my book. I'm just going to say what the name of the book was. So I have a book that I got a long time ago. I got as a joke because I had a radio interview when I did radio. And the name of the book is called The Asshole's Guide to Handling Chicks. And inside is like a tutorial about how to deal with women from 18 to like 80. And it breaks it down into years, and it says, hey, when you're younger, you're going to look for older people. When you're older, you're going to look for younger people. There's all this stuff involved. There's all stuff involved. But you are fascinating to me because you have educated yourself about the game.
Oh, yes, wait, it was Neil Strauss, I think, or yeah, The Game and the Pickup Artist.
Yes.
Um,
Tell me why you decided to do that.
well, it was because I just started to pick up on, like, certain games that, like, guys were kinda pulling that was confusing me, and I was like, "What is actually going on?" Especially with negging,
Yes.
and it was something I was really confused about at first, and I realized I don't wanna be someone that, is it's what's the word for it? Just blind.
Easily manipulated or
I guess so, because I know, like, sometimes with grief and stuff, I feel like I'm not at my best,
yeah, I got
especially
you.
on the holidays, and then I felt like, certain people are kinda, like, playing with me at that time, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna educate myself." So I listened. It was so funny, I went on Audible, and because I do a lot of driving, being
Yeah.
self-employed, I listened to both The Game and The Pickup Artist, and I was like, "Wow." Even though they were really hard to listen to because I'm just like, all these, like, weird names for these pickup artists.
Right.
What was Mystery, like, he's like and he like, dresses.
Mystery is the most common one, and I blame MTV. MTV really screwed it up a lot. I think MTV really screwed up the whole process for everybody. So because they put these guys on the air, and believe me, I know because MTV almost gave me a show for something I was doing where I was breaking up with people. The MTV likes that
Oh,
stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, so I know, I know what it's like. So
I don't know, it's just like but I feel like sometimes like, actually, I feel like there's games other way like, for women, there's, like, certain books that they have too. Like,
yeah,
there's one that was really weird, like, I read it, but people are like, "Just don't." Like, I read it just because I was curious, but it's called The Rules, where it's like, "Well, if a man asks you out after this date, tell him you're busy already."
have you? You know what I think you should watch? Have you ever watched? Oh, what's it called? It's a podcast. I think it's called the Wonder Podcast, or it's something like. It's yeah, Michael Sartain. I think that's his name. Michael Sartain is the. He's gonna kill me that I got his name wrong when I said this, but I haven't. I don't ever talk to him really and say his full name. So, Sartain. Maybe it's Sart. I don't know what it is. Okay. Anyways, so they have this podcast, and it's basically guys and girls talking, and the I don't think they mean to do this, but the women are. Let me tell you one of the topics. They talked about a topic called, and don't be offended when I say this. There's a topic called hoflation.
Okay.
Okay, so hoflation is the idea that um, my grandfather had to put in uh, 25% of the work that I would have to put in now to find a girl. If I put in that work now, it'd be 100% more, or no, 400% more work. It would be and it would be for a girl that's um, 10 times worse, 20 times worse than what my grandmother was in when my grandfather did it. It's called hoflation. It's like he has to put in less work for a more desirable woman than I had to put in more work for a less desirable woman.
I wonder why that well, I feel like just because a lot of the girls who I even just from observing, like the girls who are really attractive oftentimes are a lot nicer and they seem to almost have lower self-esteem for some reason. I wonder if it's just from being bullied growing up, but it seems like it's quite the opposite. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just
I know what I see. I see what you're saying. It's very interesting that we're having this conversation because I see what you're saying because I do know there are girls out there who are still like I don't know, they've been beaten down too many times or whatever they are emotionally or bullied by other people, whatever. But there are a lot of girls, but I feel like those girls are the most relatable because I was bullied a lot in school, so it's nice to have a conversation with somebody who I know didn't get everything handed to her. But also I'm a big fan of dating women who aren't who are able to not take themselves so seriously. That's like my number one rule. Like my number one rule is you have to be somebody who you can laugh at yourself. You don't have to be like, you don't get bent out of shape if something doesn't go 100% your way. If we got married, you wouldn't be a bridezilla type situation. I mean, everybody's gonna be a bridezilla. I think that's gonna happen regardless of the situation.
It seems like even like I don't know, marriage now, like it's like so different than our grandparents.
Yeah.
Because now it's just like I'm learning so many new things about open marriages or different agreements where it's like, oh wow, because a lot of times like I was always raised to be Lutheran or Christian.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing all these different things where I'm just like, that's so weird. It's almost like you guys aren't even married, but it is what
Yeah,
it is.
it's more for benefits and stuff like that. It's more for the ability to be like, I love this person, so I want to be able to have the rights to bury them and get their money when they die, sort of thing. And it's sort of that stuff. It's very weird, but but I have noticed that, and you're right. It is. I mean, because I've had conversations with people, and there was a moment where I was engaged a second time, and I brought up the idea because this was in LA, and a lot of celebrities I knew have separate houses
That
for
are
yeah, that are married. They have separate houses, and maybe somebody comes and stays at the other person's house or whatever. They're married. The kids, whichever one is closer for school, they show up there. They hang out. It's not like they never see each other. But if one of them works in the city and the other one works in Santa Monica or whatever, then it just makes more sense that maybe if one has the apartment and one has a house, and it's
Yeah.
usually the guy. Usually has a place, and surprisingly, those are solid relationships, and you don't see people cheating. Where you would think that, oh, this guy's got a bachelor pad in the city, he's going to cheat on her. But no, that's not the case. A lot of times, it's when they don't know about it. That's when the problems are occurring. So
Yeah, that's what I noticed too, because like, if you give like for certain, I mean, there's people who have arranged marriages or they have their religious one person, but if people could be open and say, hey, like let's do it this way, I feel like that could be beneficial, especially because it seems like even in like prehistoric times, like I don't know, like
it was a lot of pride. It was a lot of like, I saw the movie Caveman with Ringo Starr from the 80s. It was a lot of like it's a lot like it's like Lion King. It's like, you've got Mufasa, and all these people were all these. It was like Mufasa and Simba, and then a bunch of lionesses. There wasn't a bunch of lions floating around in Lion King, so you knew that's what was going on. And the whole plot of Lion King 2 is that one of the kids is Scar's kid. Like Scar's kid is grown up, and Mufasa doesn't, or Simba doesn't like him or whatever. Doesn't want to date his daughter or whatever.
I need to rewatch.
But yeah. So I think I don't know if it's the second or third movie, but it's like I think the second movie is. I think it's the second movie because it's like Scar. It's like Simba has a daughter, and then she starts dating Scar's son, and and he's like, "I'm just Scar, dude. I'm just Scar's son. It's not my fault that I'm Scar's son, and Scar was such a bad person, and maybe he wasn't a bad person." Because I think things were in better order when he was in charge. And so who knows? I mean, he had the hyenas working with them. So who knows? Maybe it was a better situation. Maybe they bullied Scar because of his sexuality or whatever. I don't know what the deal
You never
is.
know. I mean,
You never know.
Disney has a lot of hidden messages.
Yeah, they do. They really do. They really, really do. It's very interesting to me to watch a Disney show these days. Oh, because here's one. Because everybody was talking about this weekend that Elemental failed because it was too woke. Okay, so and I'm not a big fan of that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of it. If they're trying to shove stuff down my throat, I'm not interested in it. But I watched Woke, and it was essentially West Side Story. It was like Romeo and Juliet. West Side Story, it was a very common theme. I didn't see any sort of like somebody said, oh, they really shoved the like some sort of like transgender character down your throat or whatever. I'm like, I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. So I enjoyed it. It was good. It was a good movie. Made me cry a couple times.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
need to
good.
watch that now because now it's just like, getting to the movies, actually seeing like different because I know
Yeah.
like now it's sad. Like I went to see a movie like a few weeks ago.
What you go see?
It was I need to like I know the name. It's like It's Me, Janet or something. What is that movie where the girl gets her period for the first time or they all want their period? What is it?
Oh,
It's
it's
like
hey, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
oh, it's Margaret, not Janet. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good book. Okay. I mean, I was a kid. I read that book and I shouldn't have understood that book. And I didn't really understand that book because as a kid when I read it, but I love Julie Bloom. I loved all her books. So, or I don't know if it was Julie Bloom. It was Julie Bloom, not Beverly Clear. It was Julie Bloom. But anyways, yeah, no. How was it?
It was
Because
wonderful. It was a good movie, but it was so sad going into a movie theater because I went with a friend of mine. We only paid $7 a ticket, but we're like the only two in the theater. And I remember the AMC where we went to, it used to be booming where you could get meals and we got a whole booth to ourselves. But I mean, there's two other people in the whole theater, which was sad to think about. I was like, is everything just going to be live streamed now? You can't like maybe in a few years we won't be
nope.
able to
Come down to Texas. Come on down to Texas. It's booming down here.
because it's
It was a lot of the stuff that was happening during COVID that turned a lot of stuff around. Texas is doing just fine. You all come on down now. You hear? It's good stuff.
yeah, because I'm in Park Ridge where there's a really classic, vaudeville theater.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the Pickwick, where I think they still might have black and white film screenings. So it's just like a fear of mine that, all theaters are going to shut down eventually. I hope not, but
I don't think that's the case. I really I really don't. We have one here. We have they were building one in Chicago right before COVID happened, and that's the Alamo Theater or whatever it is, like Alamo Grindhouse or whatever it is. That's started here, which I thought I figured out because the Alamo. But it's like a bar theater type situation. We have a movie theater that's down the street from me. That's a restaurant that is a giant theater. But it's a restaurant theater, and you get like full meals, and you can sit
oh
there.
wow.
Yes, and also down the street from me is an AMC, which is one of the ones. And I said to them, I said when I came into that AMC, I was like, whoa, because in Chicago they were blocked out because I would go with people that had the AMC whatever, so we'd go to the AMC theaters, and a bunch of the things were blocked out. I was like, well, what? You can't get half the food here. And I went to this one. They had a full working bar,
Oh
and then
wow.
I went up to the thing, and this is like at a mall, right? I go up and I'm like, oh, you have chicken and you have this and you have all these, like you have full pizzas and sandwiches and stuff like that, and it's not blocked out or not. It doesn't say not available. So it really is. I think it was just the area where I think it was just what type of rules were being placed at what time, and when things were limited, then some things got shut down and other things didn't get shut down. So I think we're in a good spot. I'm just saying, come on down.
Because I was even at Six Flags recently, and like a lot of
Yeah.
the rides by me, like well in Gurnee is where Six Flags Great America is. A lot of the rides
Yep.
are shut down. I was like, what happened? Like it used to be like booming with different rides, but a lot of like the areas are starting to be blocked off, and it was just weird because it was like the first time in 10 years I went to Six Flags and I saw the difference. Like,
I see Six Flags every day because Six Flags started in Arlington, Texas.
oh wow, so it must be.
I didn't realize that. One day I'm like, it said Six Flags Road, and I go, oh, weird. Why does this? Oh, it says Road to Six Flags. That's a street. Like on Google Maps, it said turn down the road to Six Flags, and then the other one is Wet and Wild Avenue, and that takes you to Hurricane Harbor.
Oh wow.
So when at one time or another, 6 different countries or 6 different flags flew over Texas, and that's where Six Flags came from. And then the guy sold it off and then franchised it out. But I hear these older people talking, and they talk about growing up, and it was like the place to go because it was just a Texas thing. But that's why you see like Great America is the one in Chicago, right? And
Yeah.
then Six Flags over the Midwest is the one in St. Louis. Which, by the way, I just think the Chicago one's not a good one. I'm just going to tell you that.
It's just kind of like today as a kid, I remember all the different rides and I
Right.
recently I was like, "What happened to this ride? Mardi Gras, like what happened to all like the cool rides?" Now it's just one ride in Mardi Gras and then Cartoon Network Land, like all the rides like there was a couple rides. I don't even know if the Jetsons ride was still there, but that was shut down. Like it was weird because I remember so many rides and when you go back there it's like more picnic tables. Why do we need more picnic tables? What happened to all the
Yeah.
rides? Like
When I was in um when I lived in Iowa, where I could either go to St. Louis Six Flags or Chicago Six Flags, same distance. We'd always go to the St. Louis Six Flags. In fact, we picked up one time we went to Chicago to the suburbs, picked up one of my roommate's brothers, and then drove down to St. Louis. And I was at that point, I was like, why didn't we just go to Six Flags in Chicago? But it was just that it's not that good. In Gurney. I say Chicago because we always just did Chicago.
yeah.
But yeah, in Gurney. So
Yeah, it's sad because I remember like Kittyland was the place to be when I was young. Like and then they have the Little Dipper at Six Flags, but it's just not the same. It's like why put a Costco where there's a cute little amusement park? Like I don't know.
they like here they have like the Aquaman ride. I don't know if that is everywhere or if it's just down here, but it's like a roller coaster like loop thing, and there's water in the middle. You have to splash through to get through or
Oh,
whatever. So that stuff's always fun. But it is weird because I Six Flags opened and it was like February and I was here and I was doing Uber on the weekends or whatever. And I would have to take people and they'd be like, oh yeah, we're open. It's cold, but we're open. It's like we're doing like events or whatever. Like it's like small groups. And then I think they opened up fully in May. And then Hurricane Harbor just opened up Memorial Day weekend, I guess, because it's weird to drive by there now because there's just water. And all I look at when I see those rides is like, how could I die? How could I get stuck in one of these things? And then whatever. I also learned, not to brag about where I live now, but the other day I drove by and I was a little bit farther south or north. I don't know. I'm so confused on where I'm at half the time. But I drove by Jellystone Park. And I'm
oh,
like, oh, Jellystone Park's here. Like it's here. Like I've seen it all the time. I've seen it like advertised and all this other stuff. But it's right. It's like right there. It's like year-round fun. And I'm like, oh, that'd be fun. And I was telling my brother, like, if you brought my nieces and nephews here, you could all go camping because they like to do stuff. They like to sit in the cabins stuff like that. So, anyways, that's what brought up Six Flags? Just randomly.
yeah. It's just like because I went there recently and I'm just like a rude awakening from what it used to be. I don't know
Yeah.
because it's like part of me kind of feels like bad. I'm just like, I wish kids now could experience what I did.
But kids aren't looking at like, oh, this is tiny. They're looking at like, oh, this is a fun time. That's because like
Yeah.
the same thing is like we had Adventureland and in Des Moines, Iowa, we had Adventureland, and Adventureland used to be a chain like Six Flags was. And I think what happened was when Six Flags became a chain, it killed off Adventureland. And so, but there's still an Adventureland, and then there's an Adventureland in another state. There's only two Adventurelands now. And we would I'd go to Adventureland as a kid, and it was the greatest thing in the entire world. It was a lot of fun. We'd go around to places. It was great. I went as an adult because I got free tickets for working at the radio station. Took my girlfriend. We went there, and it was like after you do all the rides once or twice, it's the same with Six Flags though. I'd never been to Six Flags as a kid, and I feel like Six Flags for me as a kid would have been completely different than Six Flags as an adult. But I went with girlfriends and her friends to Six Flags, and it was a very interesting adult experience. But when I ran the children's theater, we would take children's theater trips down to Six Flags. And when you're there with kids, it's a different experience. So I think what you're experiencing is you were there with adult people, right? Right.
Yeah.
If you went there with kids, it'd be more exciting for you because like it was like doing stupid stuff like when I'm with adults, I'm like, I don't want to go in this water because it's skank water. I don't want to go this ride because it's like I don't get splashed by this thing. But when you're with kids, it's like, yeah, let's get in the front. Like they want to get in the front. They want to, and they all want to ride with you because you're the adult or whatever. And you're like, oh, it's fun. And it's just really, and they're like telling you, like one of the things is one of the kids, we went one year and he's like, you need to lose weight because they wouldn't let you on this ride or this ride. And I was like, you're right, I do. Like, and, he was like my motivation because when we were like, and every year they'd be like, are we going to Six Flags this year? Are we going back to Six Flags? I'm like, yes. And then he'd be like, have you lost enough weight to go on all the rides? Because it was just this fun thing where like I looked forward to it. But when I went with my girlfriend beforehand, it just wasn't a good time. But also she lived in Chicago and we went to the Chicago one. So it could just be that the Chicago one is a horrible Six Flags. There's a lot of scenarios.
They say they're adding new ones, but it's just like, why do you shut down like so many rides? And then like a lot of things went wrong in Hurricane Harbor too, where like I think only like seven of the attractions in Hurricane Harbor were shut down when I was there. So so I'm hoping.
I don't like water parks because it's a lot of like you're stacked on top of each other type things where it's like you're coming out, the next person's coming out. Like you don't enjoy it. You slide down, you have to move because you're going to get hit in the back of the head by another kid coming down the slide.
But maybe if you go to Wisconsin Dells off season, then you get.
Wisconsin Dells is awesome. House on the Rock is awesome. There's a lot of things that are awesome that I did as kids that when I came back and did as adults, those were fun. Like House on the Rock was fun, and it was like more fun as an adult than when I went as a kid because I had a girlfriend, so it was more fun, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't with my grandparents or whatever. But yeah, I just think it really just depends on what it is. I mean, because I've lived in Los Angeles, never went to Disneyland.
Oh, I went in February because it was funny because I was staying in Downey because I was getting my headshots done.
Okay.
And I stayed in Downey with a nice family, but then I realized it was so close to Disney because I realized with the weather, a lot of the plans I originally had were canceled because it was raining, and I think people were freaking out because it snowed a little bit and it was 50 degrees, so people weren't doing much. So one day when it was super rainy, I went to Disneyland and people said that's the best day to go when it's rainy.
So it is because it doesn't rain all the time. They don't. Six Flags, same thing. The lines disappear, and then as soon as it dries up, you hop on a ride real quick. You go through the ride, and then if it rains again, then the lines dissipate or whatever. But it's good times. I get it.
Yeah, so I went because I've been wanting to go because I think I went once with my mom, like when I was 4. To Disney World, but I never went to Disneyland or Universal. So I'm like taking myself to different places now as I get older.
Right. Yeah. Never went to either one of those. I really wanted to go to those, especially like I'm really a big fan of Marvel stuff. So I really want to go like the Avengers campus and that kind of stuff. That's in Disney, California or whatever is that place is called. I don't know.
They have a Star Wars area now.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, I heard they're shutting that down already.
No way.
So I heard that something. There was that's the Chicago themed the Star Wars themed hotel, right?
No, it's like part of Disney, like Disneyland. They have a few attractions. Where
okay. Well, there was a hotel that they're shutting down because I think it's this. I think it's they're shutting it down or changing it because people didn't want to pay $1,500 for the price range they put it at was too high. Listen, I gotta read this. I gotta get my final sponsor in here. Okay, Quilting Cat Crafts. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. Quilting Cat Crafts is a DFW-based fabric warehouse and online store specializing in boundless quilting fabric. They carry new 100% cotton fabric, most priced at $5 a yard. Okay, and let me tell you about one of the owners, Liz. She suffered from depression and anxiety her entire life. Even with medication and great doctors and therapists, it's still a disease that has a stigma that needs to be brought out into the light. In 2019, after a series of life events and failing medications, she was stuck in a very low, depressed place. And that's when she learned about how to sew and quilt to give herself something to focus on instead of the constant negative thoughts that were bombarding her depressed mind. And when you start a new craft, you usually have enough materials to get you through each project. Quilting and sewing are the same way. Each time you want to make something new or take a class, you have to make a trip to the fabric store to get the extra fabric. Whereas like these experienced quilters have like a stash of fabric. It's harder for people who are just starting out or on a budget to do this. But that's when she discovered Boundless, which is a very great fabric at a very low price. It's affordable and it can help anyone fit in and sew with the big girls without having to run to the store for each time you're making a low blanket. And quilting kept Liz out of the hospital and alive during that time. So Boundless fabric was the way she did that. So she wanted to make it available and affordable for other people. Call it quilting, pay it forward. People have already shared their findings on Quilting Cat Crafts online, allowing them to build their stash of fabrics that they couldn't otherwise afford. And it's just smiles all around. And you can go check it out at quiltingcat.com, or you can, or if you're local to DFW and want to pick up an order to save on shipping, you can do that too. They also have openings one weekend every quarter where there's an open house where the public can come in and just shop right there. And if you want to learn more, go check it out. You can find Quilting Cats online at their Facebook page, facebook.com/quiltingcatcrafts. And they also have a Facebook group called Quilting Cat and Catnip, where people share their projects and ask and answer questions about all these things, sewing or quilting or anything like that. What are you waiting for? If you go today online to quiltingcat.com and use the coupon code podcast, you get 10% off a non-sale fabric. That puts the fabric at about $4.50 a yard. Also, if you have friends that like to quilt, send them there. You say, hey, I was listening to this guy talk to this girl about Six Flags and negging, and I heard there was a quilting thing. Quilting's not my gig, but that's kind of something you like. Would you like to be involved? Just go to this website and use the coupon code podcast. Quilting paid forward. That's what I'm talking about. There it is. Do you quilt?
No.
You should.
My grandma did.
There you go. I think quilting is if I could quilt, I would quilt. I have family members who quilt, and their whole lives are different. I don't know. I don't have any room for it. So
my grandma did more like the crocheting. I mean, I used to do it as a kid where it's like you have like these sticks and yarn, and then you're able to make blankets. That's
knitting. Were you knitting or crocheting? Which one was it?
No. She told me crocheting, but maybe she,
Oh, no. I think crocheting was...
It's like where you have the little sticks and you're like...
Yeah, and they have hooks on the end?
Yeah.
That's crocheting. I used to crochet. I used to also cross stitch. That's where you like have like the little piece of fabric with the little holes in it, and then you like cross over the fabric and you make little patterns and like Christmas. Yeah. So we used to do all that stuff when I was a kid. The other day I went to a video game place for a radio remote. I went to this video game place. I sat down by a chessboard, and I used to play chess all the time with my stepdad. This guy who came up, who I found out later was the owner, who's a doctor. This guy's a doctor and decided to open up a video game like arcade or whatever. He sat down and he was like, "Do you want to play a game?" So I go, "Yeah, let's play." So we played chess, like real physical, actual chess, and it was awesome. And I was like, I need more of this stuff. I need more like activities like that. Probably get a poker night going with my friends at some point. So I don't know. So yeah, there's that. So what do you have anything on the works right now? Anything that you're working on? I know you're working on a website. You want to tell us more about the YouTube channel?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna work on a video, probably editing after this, like where I'm talking about like self-taping on the go, because I know people are traveling for the summer. So I got these really inexpensive ring lights and lighting equipment, just, doing like a quick review to see how easy it is for people to do on the go. Mm-hmm. That's going to come up next after I'm done editing. And I started Acting Savvy in February, and it's more like a mixture so far. I just have a little over, I think like 21 or 22 videos, but then I do vlogs. I do, if I'm like on a different indie film set, I'll just like talk about my experience, how it went, like the commute, because I just wanted to keep like a document of all the things I've done and also try to help people, especially other independent artists who are looking to be able to be on the go. Like, especially, if they have, multiple projects they're working on, or they still want to audition while they're on different sets or traveling, just an easier way to be able to learn. And also, I had a few, are actually just a couple independent film directors just on there talking about what they look for in actors, why they choose certain people for certain roles, and it like goes into like a lot of different things of why certain actors are chosen for certain projects or roles. So I'm just
Right.
still expanding it, like still trying to make it grow. It's kind of my baby because I had someone motivate me right after the holidays, and he told me you can't just, sit around, mope, and do nothing. So he really encouraged me to start up a YouTube channel just to, put my mind towards something positive.
That's
I
good.
feel like now it's like after 20 videos, I was like, okay, this is kind of my baby now. I'm going to try to nurture it more and pay attention to it. Because you're probably the same way. I know you had YouTube channels where you're like, oh, like, you had a lot of success with YouTube.
I have had YouTube channels, and you can go back and find them. I'll go back sometimes, and I'm like a little baby in these videos. But like I did one where I was talking to this YouTuber about vegan,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I said I can go vegan for 30 days, and he was like, "Oh no, you couldn't." And so I said, "I'll do it, and I'll document it." And I did this Brad Man Goes Vegan, and it was a podcast about going vegan. But also, you can like physically see me drop a bunch of weight, and I'm like making recipes and stuff like that. And I still I go in there and I see people like leaving comments like, "Oh, this was a good recipe. Thank you for this recipe." Stuff
Oh,
that, and it was for me, it was like, and I make fun of people like this now because I'm not vegan again, but I make fun of people that I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make a vegan steak, and I'm like, why do you have to make it look like a steak and all this other stuff? Because if you're vegan, you shouldn't want it to look like a steak because it would
yeah.
be like you're representing murder or whatever. So
It's
it's very hypocritical at times, and I make fun of people now. But I would do things like I'm gonna make vegan sausage biscuits and gravy because I like sausage biscuits and gravy, but the only way I can eat them now is if I make a vegan version of them.
oh, yeah.
And so I would do different things like that. And it was a fun thing. And then after 30 days I kept going because I was like, I feel really good. I kept going up until I moved to New York, and then for some reason it was harder to be vegan in New York, and I just stopped.
Really? Because I
Yeah, it was
remember
hard.
I was in New York a lot, like when I was a vegan for 6 years. Um, Now I'm pretty much like someone got me to eat cheese and tempted me, and now I'm trying to wean off cheese. Cheese is very addicting. I'm pretty much still like I'm a vegetarian that doesn't eat any other animal products besides cheese now, but um
Right. Yeah, I remember you were like desperately wanting but you were also drunk, a little tipsy, and you were like, I want cheese sticks. And I was like, when did you become not vegan anymore? And I was like, yes. You
weird.
just
Like
kept talking about cheese sticks all the time.
I had someone like pressure me. He's like, come on, just have a little cheese. Come on, come on. I was like, stop this already. But
Oh, you got to be careful. If you can't just go cold turkey back into cheese if you
it
haven't had. Yeah,
yeah, it got me sick for a little while, and I felt
right.
bad. Like I still do. It feels weird, like because now I'm still like I don't even buy cheese. Like it's like once every in a blue moon, like I'll have it. I still pretty much buy all vegan products, but
What once every in a blue cheese. Well, oh yeah, here's a way to wean off of it. Use
the vegan stuff. But I don't know. It's weird because now my body's so different. It's like your body kind of just doesn't want the vegan meat anymore.
look for follow your heart. Follow your heart has a really good line of like follow your heart has vegan blue cheese dressing,
Oh,
and it
that.
blows my mind. It blows my mind how much it tastes like. And I don't like blue cheese, but I like vegan blue cheese because I know it's not blue cheese. Like it tastes like blue cheese, but because my brain knows it's not the gross like moldy cheese,
Yeah.
I can eat it. It's but even though it's probably like fermented whatever. But I'll also a lot of the stuff is soy, and I try to avoid soy as much as I can. So that's always a good thing to look. I mean, also I did a whole series. Oh, I did like 5 episodes, and then I quit because Periscope started, and I got really popular on Periscope. But I had a series of shows about living on cryptocurrency, like when Dogecoin came out, like a long time ago when Dogecoin came out, I had a show sponsored by like Dogecoin people. And I tried to find I had a wallet because they would just pay me in Dogecoin. I had a wallet with like 1 million Dogecoin in it.
Ooh.
And I don't know where it's at. I lost it. But it's just funny because like they gave me an app, and one of the companies was called Tip Jar. And I would go on to TikTok, and I would, during like the football game, I'd be like, if every time there's a touchdown, I will everybody uses the hashtag, and I'll give somebody 0.1 Bitcoin. And I'd send out, and then the winner got a full Bitcoin after the drawing was done. We took all the winners of the game, and we had one big Bitcoin. I went back and looked at that now, and I was giving out, like, now, if I look at it, I was giving out thousands of dollars at a time. And I'm just thinking to myself, how many of those people got it on Twitter, won the contest, got a 0.1 Bitcoin, and it's still sitting there because they've never claimed it, because you had to like go in and like claim it. Even my mom got something from them, and I said, "Do you ever claim that?" She's like, "No, I don't know where it's at." And they said, "Well, if she finds it, we'll honor it because we want to make sure she gets her money." I'm like, "Mom, you just threw away," because she had like 0.5 Bitcoin, and that would have been like $20,000 now. And like, you know, it's insane how it works now. But like when I was doing this cryptocurrency, it was just like, I'm gonna work and do cryptocurrency and get paid in cryptocurrency. Yeah, I'm going to convert it over to dollars to pay for stuff, but I'm just only going to accept cryptocurrency as payment. And that was a thing that I did. And it's all about the crypto. And you go on YouTube and you can watch these old videos of that too. And it was like based off of like Curb Your Enthusiasm type show. So that was always good too. Just, I think have fun with it. Make a bunch of YouTube stuff, and feel free to branch off onto other YouTube channels when you want to make other topics.
Yeah.
Because most YouTubers have like 8 YouTube channels now. So.
Oh, wow. But it's like, don't you have to, like, I don't know. I'm just like trying to hone in, like trying to, you know, do whatever I can with the one I have right now for the first year.
Well, focus on that. Yeah, focus on that. But also use your TikTok, use your Instagram, and point everybody, like take clips from these things. Like I just said, I'm going to clip that thing where you're singing. I'm going to put it out over the internet and send people back to here.
Just that. Like I just spot.
Right. Hey, I had a friend, Nikki Huntsman, on. She's a porn star, and she told a story about how Pauly Shore ghosted her. Like how, like, she had sex with Pauly Shore. She ranked him as one of the top 3 people she's ever had sex with, and then he ghosted her. And I put that out on the internet because I'm like, that's a great story. Sorry for your loss, but that's a great story, you know.
Did he ever reach out? He's like, hey, you told a story.
I tried. I was tagging like, Pauly, are you going to apologize to Nikki for this? I tried. So anyways, well, all right. I'm wrapping things up. By the way, when I'm done, don't hang up so I can say goodbye to you. Let the music play and all stuff. But where can people find you? Where can people, what's your social media handles? Where can people find you? Tell people where they can look for you.
So like mainly on my Instagram is gonna be @AngelicaTrigar. That's right there. Or, you know, AJ Trigar is more like my personal like blog talking, you know, about like, you know, there's some personal things, some like reuniting with friends, trade shows. Acting Savvy is my YouTube. It's Acting SAVVY is my YouTube. And that's the baby. I'm starting with like a little over 20 videos. And yeah.
And if you're listening to this, I will have all those links in the description of the podcast. So if you're listening to this in your car or on your phone, just click on the links in the podcast. So, yeah. Well, Angelica, thank you for being on my show. Thank you for taking the time to be on this Sucky broadcast. Thank you for being a Sucky guest. That's not a bad thing. I promise it's not a bad thing. I'm going to start playing this music now, but we're still on. I just do this music as my outro music. So, anyways. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to hit the timer button too, because so I know how much time it is. I've got this thing timed out. Guys, I'm learning. I'm still new on a lot of this stuff. I've been doing this is our 9th episode, I believe. Thanks for being number 9.
Number 9.
Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to Quilting Cat. Thank you to Brass Tap in North Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thank you to McKinney Black Car, our newest sponsor. Love you guys. By the way, I was right. The number is 469-5452. What a great number. So I thought it was wrong. I thought it was a typo. But it makes perfect sense because it's easier to remember. 469-5452. Nathan, give him a call. Mention Sucky. Get $50 off for an hourly booking. That's it. Angelica, you have a great rest of your week. Everybody who's listening, you also have a great rest of your week. And I will be back next week with another installment. And by the way, Dennis Hurley is my guest next week. And you know him because you worked with him. So it's all coming together full circle. All right, guys. Love you all. Have a great whatever.
You've been listening to This Sucky Broadcast. Learn more at thissuckybroadcast.com.